There are so many people out there that could class themselves as being spiritual, that they're very deep into spirituality, that they work heavily on creating some specific frequency of their body to be able to gain abundance that they want. But there's a very important part of that whole journey that we miss out, and it's something that I missed out heavily on because I thought I can just bypass the hard work and I will get the abundance. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And I want to bring that to your attention because if you feel like you are numb, if you feel like you cannot feel emotions, if you feel like you're doing all this positive work, you're being still, you're aligning your frequencies to abundance, you're trying to manifest things, but then you're still struggling to feel, you're still struggling with things like perfectionism, low self-worth, acceptance of self and others, you're struggling to love fully, there's a reason behind it. And I want to give you a few steps on how you can solve that. Hello and welcome to Productively Mindful. My name is Yolanda Schultzes. I hope you enjoy your stay here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to talk about how important it is for us to do the hard work to be able to get the full amount of abundance at the end of our spirituality journey. It might take quite a few years to get there, but if we follow this process, we'll be a lot more ready for whatever it is that we want to receive. So what we want to do, which is what a lot of spirituality practitioners avoid, is actually gaining insight towards what they experience every single moment. We experience life very superficially. We see things very superficially. We experience things very superficially because oftentimes what we experience, what we see, is enough to be superficial. Otherwise, it might be painful or difficult to comprehend, or it might go against our beliefs, our understanding, our safety net that we have created for ourselves. What we want to develop are three key elements that will allow us to make our spirituality journey a lot more efficient and a lot faster, so to say. So the three key elements that I want to talk about are awareness, surrender, and wisdom. Now, all those three elements intertwine together to some degree, but we can tackle them individually. And I want to talk about why they are important, what they help us with, and how we can tackle them individually to some degree. So why is awareness very important in our spirituality journey? Obviously, as a human being, you are aware. You are aware of your surroundings. You are aware of your bodily functions that happen within, again, to some degree, because if you have a very superficial awareness, you might not feel your heartbeat. You probably don't feel the digestion happening throughout the whole process of digestion. You probably don't feel your kidneys or liver working. You probably don't feel the electrical signals in your brain. All these processes we're not aware of. So we are capable of feeling them, but it's a very deep sense of awareness that we need to have to be able to feel them. So everything that we are aware of is very superficial. And in turn, because we have to very superficially be aware of life, our awareness is actually quite slow. And the problem comes where the awareness is slower than our mind. Now, why is that a problem? It's a problem because our mind is a lot faster to suppress whatever we experience, whatever we feel, whatever emotions we have, before we can become aware of those emotions taking place. And then that leads to reaction, to impulsive reaction that can come from aversion or craving, ignorance, something that we really don't want to experience now, or something that we really want to experience right now. And that in turn can create something that goes against the second element that we want to develop, which is surrender. And just think about how many of us surrender to life. Anything that happens in life, we try to understand why it happens by not just surrendering to the experience, but looking at our backlog of historical evidence as to why something that happened in a certain way. Or we try to find a solution to whatever happened because we didn't like it by somehow magically manifesting that solution in the future by constantly overthinking it. And that in turn leads to resistance. Resistance towards many, many experiences that we experience in life. The only way we can experience life truly for what it is by just surrendering to the experience. And at the same time, we need the awareness of the emotions and the feelings that we have in each situation that life presents us with to be able to actually experience it, because experience is feeling. And then the last concept that we need to be aware of is wisdom. And wisdom doesn't just mean being intelligent, because inherently the way we approach life is through intelligence. We want to logically make sense of everything that happens, but the logical mind sometimes can be a limitation to the flow of moment-to-moment experience. There are a multitude of concepts that we want to create wisdom towards, such as impermanence, balance of the mind, why we suffer and why we have misery in life. Those three concepts, and there might be more, this is not an extensive list, but these are the concepts that are very, very important to be able to understand, to actually build good awareness and the ability to surrender, and do that over and over and over again to build wisdom. Why are these concepts important, first of all? So the concept of impermanence is important because it is part of the reason why we create resistance towards life. Because we look at life very superficially, we can look at an object and think that that object is going to be there forever without ever perishing away. You can look at yourself in the mirror and not even think about the fact that you one day will be gone, because you're slowly cooking internally through the process of glycation, for example. Nothing in life is permanent. Pain is impermanent. Happiness is impermanent. All the feelings, all the emotions that we have are impermanent, or all experiences that we have are impermanent. Everything that you will ever buy, ever bought, are impermanent. Everything in life is impermanent, and whatever rises will fall at some point. It's something. There's a saying that I really like that was mentioned by S.N. Goenka in the Vipassana retreat that I was, and it was quite a profound experience. If you want to check out what it was like, I'll link the video where I talked about it in the top right-hand corner and underneath in the description. S.N. Goenka said that the art of life is the art of death, because every single moment we are slowly approaching the end of our life. So if we learn how to die gracefully, we will learn in turn how to live gracefully, through happiness, through compassion, through goodwill. And impermanence is a very, very key concept for that, because if we can understand that nothing is permanent, we can understand the fact that there's no point in creating aversion or craving towards anything that happens in life, because if we do, we will create misery, we will create suffering, because we will desperately want to get away from a situation that's happening right now, which will inevitably go away at some point on its own, or we will crave some sort of a good experience to happen right now in this moment, even though it might be completely impossible. And if it doesn't, again, it will cause suffering or misery. It's always, I want it now or I don't want it now. That is the problem. That is the reason why we suffer. Balance of mind. Why is that important? Oftentimes, well, most of the time, if not always, our mind is very imbalanced. We jump from one extreme to the other extreme, thinking that if we move from one extreme to the other, we will solve whatever it is that is causing us difficulties right now. We oftentimes end up creating problems And then we end up searching for solutions for those problems where we could just not create the problem in the first place. So balance of mind is very, very important, because if we have a balanced mind, we will again not react to a certain situation, because we will not be looking for some sort of an extreme to be able to balance ourselves out in whatever situation that we are, mentally or physically. And balance of mind, again, comes from the understanding that everything is impermanent, and there is no need for us to look for a solution for whatever is causing us hardship or craving in this moment. Balance of mind is something that the Way of Tao talks a lot about as well. So I would highly recommend having a look at the Way of Tao, which is a very, very old scripture that talks about balancing your mind and not jumping to any one extreme to balance your mind out. And it also lengthens your journey towards whatever destination you want to go to. Because if you're balanced, you're going forward using a straight line. But if you're on one extreme, if you jump to the other extreme, and then the other extreme, you start going in zigzags from side to side, and it lengthens your journey to wherever you want to go quite substantially. And you end up not really learning whatever it is that you're doing incorrectly to get to that destination, which can make life quite difficult. The reason behind our suffering, so that kind of intertwines with the impermanence concept that I just talked about, but the reason why we suffer is purely and simply because we are ignorant. We are ignorant to the decisions that we make, we are ignorant to the actions that we make, and we are ignorant to one thing, one very important thing, and that thing is that all of our suffering, all of our misery happens within the framework of our body and mind. Nothing that we experience happens outside of us. Objectively, if you look at things, if you look at reality, the experience of life, you might see a person standing in front of you and shouting at you, and that will cause anger in you. But the reason why the anger arises is because you're creating aversion towards the situation, and you have decided to react with anger through that aversion. So wherever hardship you're experiencing is purely and simply because of the fact that you have decided to choose suffering in that instance. I guess the concept itself is quite simple, because we are essentially choosing our suffering. We are the shepherds of our experience. But with extreme situations, such as ones that cause anger, because it's such a powerful emotion, it is very difficult to not react to that situation with anger. This is why awareness is so important. So I want to touch upon how we cultivate awareness. And one of the best ways to cultivate awareness is through meditation. And it's not any kind of meditation, but it's not a very specific meditation either. There's an element to that meditation that is required to be able to build awareness. And the element that we require in the meditation is an element of sensing physical sensations on your body. So it could be sensing the breath, sensing the changes of temperature, sensing some sort of vibrations, sensing some sort of a pressure, sensing the flow of energy in your body. Anything that makes you feel a physical sensation will allow you to build awareness. The sharper the awareness that we can build, the faster it's going to be at picking up biochemical signals just before an extreme emotional reaction takes place. So when it comes to situations like ones that would cause you to react with anger, if your awareness is sharp enough, it might notice the fact that your breath changes, your heartbeat goes faster. You might start getting some sort of tingles in your stomach or your belly. It can be any sensation, but every single reaction to the situation will have a preceding physical sensation, because we do have actual biochemical processes that happen in our body to create whatever the processes that need to happen in your brain for you to react in a certain way based on whatever the situation is. So if we can build awareness of whatever biochemical reactions happen in our body to a very, very minute detail, we can become aware of those biochemical reactions that precede the actual emotional reaction. Now, that does not mean that you should not feel the anger. That is not the reason why we are building that awareness. That completely goes against whatever we're trying to fix here, and what we're trying to fix is emotional suppression. We actually want to feel, we actually want to experience, we actually want to have the emotions, because that is the hard work that we want to integrate into this journey to be able to get that full abundance from our spirituality journey. What the awareness will do is help you to start moving forward in the 5-step process of emotional well-being. And the awareness is what will kick it off, because the first step is recognition of whatever you're feeling in the moment, whatever the emotion is. So what the awareness does is it allows you to stay in a middle ground kind of area. You can stay in an area where you have recognized the fact that you have anger within you, but you do not become anger. Recognition through awareness means that because we stay in this middle ground, we will recognize that we have that anger within us. And if we recognize it, that means we still acknowledge the existence of it, we still feel it, but as opposed to becoming it, we become the observer of the emotion and the feeling. And if we can just become the observer, we will not react impulsively to the situation, but at the same time, we will be able to go through all the 5 steps of the emotional well-being process to be able to gain the end result of that observation. Now, the 5 steps of the emotional well-being is something that I've covered again in one of my videos. So again, I'll link it at the top right-hand corner underneath this video if you want to check it out. But the first step is recognition, and that's what we do through awareness. We become aware of the emotion that is about to hit us, the feeling that is about to hit us before it actually hits us, so we can sit in the seat of the observer as opposed to becoming that emotion and becoming more overwhelmed and reacting impulsively and causing ourselves more misery and suffering, and consequently potentially to somebody else as well. So awareness is super, super key to be able to start that. And at the same time, if we become aware, we can start the first 3 steps of the surrender. The first 3 steps of those 5 steps are what gives us the possibility and the ability to surrender to the experience of life. So recognition is the first step. The second step is acceptance. We need to be able to accept whatever is happening to be able to observe it, right? We can recognize it, but we can deny the fact that that is happening still. We can accept the fact that we have anger within us, but if we say something along the lines of, that anger is not my fault, that anger is somebody else's fault, that is denial. And denial will shoot you right up to the tippity top of that experience of anger, and you will just simply become anger. So we want to be able to accept the anger, accept that the fact of the matter is that we have anger within us. So we just need to simply sit there and observe the undeniable fact that anger is there. So that is the second step of surrender. And the third step of surrender is embrace, because embrace allows us to look at that non-judgmentally. You can still accept something, but be judgy towards it. You can still accept the fact that we have anger within us, but you can judge the fact that you are feeling the anger. You can judge yourself for feeling anger because you might feel like you don't deserve anger. You might feel like anger is not something that you should be capable of feeling, and anger is a bad emotion. Anger should not exist. So that is judgment. And again, if you don't embrace the emotion and just accept it, you will get shot up to that tippity top of experience, and you will become anger as opposed to just be the observer. So if you can go through those first 3 steps, purely and simply recognizing it through awareness, accepting it as an undeniable truth, and then embracing it non-judgmentally, because you know that experience eventually will go because of that concept of impermanence, and because you know that if you react, you will not follow the middle way road, but you will jump to the extreme, and then you will inevitably try to suppress that emotion next time, so you will jump to the other extreme. That's where the balance of mind disappears. If you can go through those 3 steps by just simply surrendering to the experience of life, you will have gone through a very, very big shift of your spirituality journey and a very big shift of mindset. And awareness and surrender are very, very important. Now then, the last part, wisdom, right? I haven't touched on wisdom that much. Wisdom comes from the next 2 steps of that emotional well-being, the 4th step being understanding, and the 5th step being insight. Understanding is a very superficial way of gaining wisdom as to why that anger happened. Very superficial, meaning that the anger is there because I have experienced somebody standing in front of me and saying something that made me feel angry. That's a very superficial way of looking at it, but the understanding will give you a superficial knowledge database in terms of what kind of situations will make you feel anger. And because we look at life superficially, if you have that database behind you, you will build an even stronger awareness, because you will build neuroplasticity for a situation of a similar nature. So anytime a situation that's very similar happens again, the awareness will kick in, both in terms of the biochemical process senses, and because of your understanding of a situation that's of a similar nature, the awareness will become even sharper, your likelihood of reaction will become even smaller, and there's even a higher chance that you will become an observer. It's a never-ending cycle, and it's going to keep getting better and better and better. And that is how integration works. You keep getting better and better and better at the cycle, and the better you get, the more you integrate that emotion, and the less likely it is that you will become the emotion. And the more you start going in that middle path of your life, the less likely it is that you will jump to any extreme, be it becoming the emotion or suppressing it. And insight is a very deep subconscious digging. That's where you peel the layers of onion to understand why that specific situation made anger arise. There must be some sort of a historical reason as to why a situation would make you feel angry, because only through having certain beliefs that were developed in the past will give you the ability to react to anger with anger to a certain situation, because you only react with anger if some sort of belief about yourself gets touched or triggered, or some sort of a trauma event gets triggered, or you disagree very heavily with somebody, or they offend you, or something to do with your concept of your identity, your concept of your beliefs, something to do with the historical past of who you are, how you were brought up, will be the reason as to why you had anger arise within you. And insight is how we create that knowledge, that database as to why that anger arises. And that is where you start understanding the reason behind the anger existing in you. That's not a situational based thing, because anger can arise because of many, many reasons. And the only way we will fully integrate a sense of anger, and again, I keep using anger, this applies to any emotion, any feeling that you might feel, that causes you to react through ignorance, through aversion, or through craving. So the only way you will fully integrate, again, anger into your journey is by going through all of these triggers, all of these deep triggers that will require you to go through that insight step to understand and create that database, that knowledge bank, where any single time anger arises, you will know exactly why the situation has triggered it and why it was anger that situation triggered. At that point, there will be no chance you will react with any extreme to life. You will not cause yourself any more misery because you will not react with aversion or craving. And you will be on a very straight path to whatever abundance that you're working towards. All that there will be left is love, peace, contentment, goodwill, your willingness to share your merits with everybody else, your willingness to share happiness with everybody else, love with everybody else. And again, these 5 steps, these concepts that I mentioned, it's a never-ending cycle. You keep going through it over and over and over and over again. And if you miss one part of it, you will not build the full cycle of integration, and you will keep going through that cycle of misery. That misery will get pushed into the next life through the flow of consciousness, but this is quite a difficult concept to explain. It's a concept of Buddhism. It's something to do with a thing called sankharas and the wheel of Dhamma, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to explain those things in depth, so I'm not even going to try. But just be mindful of that cycle, of those steps that you need to go through. And if you keep going through these cycles step by step, the changes that you will experience will be immense. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a free community called the Flame Keeper, somebody who looks after their flame, their soul, through mindful integration of emotions and feelings to be able to gain the full amount of abundance from their spirituality journey. If you're interested in joining that group, the link is going to be underneath. We have free daily affirmations there, weekly group meetings, exclusive monthly content, and we also have a bank of meditations that I will be redoing soon to be able to allow people to cultivate awareness through that specific notion of feeling sensations on your body. Again, the link's underneath. Check it out. It's completely free. Everybody's welcome. I'm really eager to build that community into a very big one, very fruitful one, a very tightly knit community where everybody helps each other. There's also going to be a application form there where I will be helping people for free to do exactly this step, exactly this whole process, going through 5 steps, help you build the awareness of those biochemical processes in your body, helping you build the ability to surrender to experience of life, helping you to recognize, accept, embrace, understand, and create insight towards your emotions, your feelings, and then teach you how to go through the whole process over and over and over again to be able to become as efficient as you can towards it. It will be a 12-week process, a 12-week commitment. There will be an application form that you can fill out to apply for it. There's only going to be 3 spots for it, completely free, because I want to trial this exact process, this step-by-step process, to actually prove that it works really, really well. The application form is going to be in the community, so if you want to join and be one of the first ones to get that spot, make sure you join my community using the link underneath. The application form is going to be posted there sometime this week, so make sure you join and don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Also, I would highly appreciate if you like and subscribe. This is going to help the content to be pushed out to the relevant audience, to more people, and the more people see this, the more I can help, the more I can give value to everyone. I would also appreciate if you left a comment, if you agree with what I said, if you disagree. Perhaps you think there would be some sort of a change to the process that I'm talking about, maybe to make something better, something more efficient. Maybe there's a process that you use that is similar and slightly different. I would love to hear about it, because everything that I talk about is from a personal experience, and I'm not an all-knowing person, so I'm always eager to learn and get better. Otherwise, this has been Elanda Schultzes from Productively Mindful. I love you all dearly. I hope you all manage to find peace, love, and contentment in life. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Goodbye.